What makes us look younger? Is it just genetics, or is there something deeper that influences our appearance? In this video, we explore a fascinating perspective based on the teachings of Carl Jung, who suggests that youth is not merely a reflection of the physical body, but a manifestation of the inner state of the self. Jung invites us to discover the spiritual power that resides in our consciousness and how it directly influences our vital energy, health, and surprisingly, how we appear to the world. Join us on a journey to understand how the balance between body, mind, and spirit can be the key to maintaining a fresh and youthful appearance. Get ready to uncover the spiritual power behind your appearance. Carl Jung described psychic energy as the driving force of our psyche. According to his approach, this energy flows between the conscious and the unconscious, and its state of balance or imbalance manifests not only in our emotional well-being, but also in our physical appearance. The concept is based on the idea that unresolved or repressed emotions do not disappear. They are stored and eventually find expression in the body. Let's take an example. Prolonged emotional tension, such as chronic stress or anxiety, can be reflected in the face through expression lines, loss of skin radiance, or a posture that projects exhaustion. Jung believed that unmanaged psychic energy acts as a block that prevents the natural flow of well-being. Contained sadness, anger, or fear act as corrosives to our vitality, a phenomenon that the body translates into visible signals such as dark circles, rigidity, or even health issues affecting the skin and hair. But the impact of psychic energy is not solely negative. When a person works to release emotional blockages through conscious confrontation with their shadows, the energy that was once trapped is freed to be used in a creative and revitalizing way. This process, known as individuation, is one of the pillars of Jung's approach. Individuation not only brings internal clarity, but can also transform the way a person presents themselves to the world. A more relaxed expression, a more open posture, and a rejuvenated glow are outward signs of a deep internal change. The connection between psychic energy and appearance can also be observed from a scientific perspective. Neuroscience has shown that prolonged stress elevates cortisol levels, which accelerates cellular aging. On the other hand, positive emotions such as gratitude or joy trigger the release of hormones like oxytocin and endorphins, which not only generate emotional well-being, but also have anti-inflammatory effects and promote cellular regeneration. From this perspective, working on emotional management is not just an act of psychic self-care, but also a natural method of preserving youth. So how can we channel our psychic energy to benefit our appearance? Jung emphasized the importance of introspective practices such as meditation, dream analysis, and reflective writing. These tools not only allow us to uncover unconscious emotional patterns, but also help us release them. The result is a more balanced psyche that, like a spring that has been unlocked, allows energy to flow in a revitalized way. When this happens, the person's face reflects that internal change, a brighter gaze, a more genuine smile, and a posture that conveys confidence and serenity. Essentially, psychic energy is not only an internal force that affects our decisions and emotions, but also the invisible canvas upon which our physical appearance is painted. Managing it consciously is, therefore, a form of holistic self-care that connects mind, body, and spirit. Synchronicity is one of the most intriguing concepts of Carl Jung. He defined it as the meaningful coincidence of two or more events in which there is more than just random probability. Although this idea may seem to belong to the philosophical or mystical realm, it has direct implications for how we experience the world and how our appearance intertwines with our internal state. Imagine an ideal situation. You are going through a period of personal transformation. You've decided to leave behind self-destructive habits, and you've started caring more for your emotional well-being. While walking down the street, a person you don't know stops to compliment your appearance. Is this just a coincidence? According to Jung, no. These types of experiences are deeply connected to the energy you project and the internal balance you've reached. When we are in tune with ourselves, the universe responds in unexpected ways. In practical terms, synchronicity can manifest as a change in how others perceive you. During moments of greater internal balance, people tend to notice a light or glow they hadn't perceived before. This isn't necessarily due to visible physical changes, but rather to the energetic transformation you've undergone. Your body language, your gaze, and even your tone project that new energy, influencing how others interpret your appearance. Another interesting aspect is how synchronicities tend to intensify during moments of significant change. Jung observed that people often experience more meaningful coincidences during periods of transition, such as a job change, a new relationship, or a spiritual awakening. These events are often accompanied by an internal reconfiguration, and that transformation is reflected externally in the way we interact with the world. But synchronicity also has a practical side. By understanding it, we can recognize moments when our psyche and the universe are aligned. This doesn't mean that every event is a divine message, but it offers us the opportunity to reflect on how our internal intentions are shaping our external reality. From this perspective, caring for our appearance is not a superficial act, but a way to manifest externally the inner work we are doing. The beauty of synchronicity lies in its ability to remind us that our life is not disconnected. Every thought, emotion, and action impacts the world around us. When we cultivate internal harmony, that harmony is reflected in our appearance, not as an artifice, but as an authentic expression of who we are. Synchronicity ultimately teaches us that our connection with the universe is much deeper than we usually imagine. Carl Jung discovered that archetypes are fundamental structures of the collective unconscious, universal patterns that guide our experiences and behaviors. These symbolic images, such as the hero, the mother, or the wise one, operate deep within our psyche and determine not only how we perceive the world, but also how we present ourselves in it. However, what is fascinating is that these archetypes also shape our appearance and the way others perceive us. For example, the archetype of the eternal youth is associated with qualities such as energy, vitality, and the desire to explore. A person who unconsciously identifies with this archetype may project a youthful appearance, even if they have passed their chronological youth. This doesn't just mean looking physically young, but radiating an essence of freshness and optimism. Similarly, someone who resonates with the archetype of the wise one may project serenity and depth, even if their appearance includes wrinkles or signs of aging. People tend to perceive this wisdom as a beauty that transcends the physical. However, archetypes do not always operate in a balanced way. If an individual is overly influenced by the archetype of the hero, they may focus on an appearance that demonstrates strength and power, sometimes at the expense of vulnerability or emotional connection. On the contrary, someone dominated by the martyr archetype might display signs of exhaustion or sacrifice that negatively affect their physical appearance. These imbalances can influence how we take care of ourselves and the messages we send to the world through our image. An intriguing aspect of archetypes is how they change and evolve throughout our lives. During childhood, the archetype of the inner child may dominate, while in adulthood, figures like the lover or the king-queen may emerge. This change is not only reflected in our priorities, but also in our appearance. For example, a person who has embraced the archetype of the queen might show a more upright posture, a more elegant choice of clothing, and a facial expression that conveys authority and confidence. Jung also observed that archetypes not only influence how we perceive ourselves, but also how we want others to perceive us. This unconscious desire can dictate our personal style choices, from clothing to makeup and hairstyles. A person who seeks to connect with the archetype of the artist, for instance, might opt for a bohemian style and vibrant colors, while someone aligned with the warrior archetype might choose functional clothing and dark colors that project strength and determination. Conscious work with archetypes can be a powerful tool for balancing our psyche and simultaneously enhancing our external image. By identifying which archetypes are dominating our lives and which are underdeveloped, we can create an appearance that reflects a more complete version of ourselves. This process is not about manipulating others' perceptions, but about authentically expressing who we are. Ultimately, archetypes are internal maps that guide us toward personal fulfillment. When we consciously align with them, our appearance becomes a reflection of that internal harmony, and more importantly, this integration allows us to project a beauty that is not limited by social standards, but emanates from our deepest essence. Transference is a fascinating phenomenon that Jung explored deeply in his work on psychotherapy. In simple terms, Transference occurs when we project unconscious emotions, memories, and desires onto others. But this concept doesn't only apply to our relationships. It also influences how we perceive ourselves and, surprisingly, our physical appearance. For example, if you have internalized a negative self-image due to past criticism or rejection, that projection may continue to affect you in the present. You might see yourself as less attractive than you actually are, simply because you are viewing your reflection through the distorted filter of those past experiences. This type of negative transference not only impacts your self-esteem, but can also influence how others perceive your appearance, creating a cycle that reinforces insecurity. On the other hand, positive transference can have a transformative effect. When someone sees us with love and acceptance, that reflection can help us reconfigure our self-image. Jung observed that in therapeutic relationships, the patient often projects ideal or desired aspects of themselves onto the therapist. This phenomenon can extend to our everyday relationships, where emotional support and validation from others help us see ourselves in a new, kinder, and more positive light. Transference also explains why we are often more critical of ourselves than we are of others. It is common for people to project their unresolved insecurities and fears onto their own body image. At the same time, we may project our aspirations or ideals onto others, constantly comparing ourselves and perpetuating a sense of inadequacy. How can we work with transference to improve our self-image and, consequently, our appearance? First, it's essential to recognize the projections we are imposing on ourselves and others. This can be achieved through introspection or with the help of a therapist. Second, it is important to cultivate self-compassion. Jung emphasized that accepting our shadows, the parts of ourselves we prefer to hide, is essential for achieving internal balance. When we integrate these rejected parts, something magical happens. Our self-image begins to change. We become less critical of ourselves and more aware of our own humanity. This internal change can be reflected externally in a more relaxed posture, a sparkle in the eyes, and a more authentic smile. Thus, the mirror of transference is not only a psychological concept, but a powerful tool for transforming the way we see ourselves and how others see us. By releasing negative projections and embracing a more authentic and balanced image of ourselves, we can project an appearance that is not only attractive, but deeply genuine. For Carl Jung, mandalas were not just geometric figures. They were symbolic representations of the total self, meaning the union of the conscious and unconscious in the psyche. In his work, Jung found that mandalas frequently appeared in the dreams and creative processes of his patients during times of personal transformation or crisis. What's fascinating is that these figures not only helped organize internal chaos, but also influenced how patients perceived their own identity and, consequently, their external appearance. What is the relationship between this and well-being and appearance? Jung believed that mandalas were a powerful tool for integrating the fragmented parts of the human being. When a person works on their internal balance, that process is inevitably reflected in their body and face. For example, a person who finds inner calm may show a relaxed and serene expression. This effect goes beyond the physical. It's an energy that others perceive. Creating or contemplating a mandala is an exercise that connects art with psychology. The circular structure of the mandala represents a center that organizes and harmonizes psychic forces. This process can be therapeutic, helping reduce anxiety and promoting a state of calm that directly impacts physical health. Contemporary studies have shown that similar activities, like coloring mandalas or practicing mindfulness exercises, can lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Additionally, mandalas are not only tools for introspection, but also reflections of a person's vital energy at a given moment. Jung observed that when someone designs a mandala, the choice of colors, shapes, and patterns can reveal the individual's emotional and spiritual state. A vibrant and colorful figure might indicate vitality and creativity, while a darker or more rigid mandala could reflect internal tensions. This symbolic dialogue not only helps process emotions, but also inspires tangible changes in daily life. The connection between the mandala and external appearance may seem abstract, but it is profoundly real. When a person works to organize their inner world, that harmony translates into softer gestures, a more balanced posture, and a facial expression that radiates well-being. On the other hand, someone living in a state of inner chaos might project that disorder through muscle tension or a fatigued appearance. A simple practice to start working with the power of the mandala is to draw or color one while reflecting on an aspect of life that needs balance. As you trace the circles and choose the colors, observe how you feel. This exercise can be a starting point to unlock unconscious tensions and channel energy into a more harmonious state. Ultimately, the mandala of well-being serves as a reminder that our external appearance is deeply influenced by our inner energy. Balance and calm are not only felt, but also seen, and that transformation is both spiritual and visible. Individuation is one of the most important concepts in Jung's psychology. This process involves integrating all aspects of our personality, conscious, unconscious, light, and dark, to become the most complete version of ourselves. But how does this affect our physical appearance? Jung believed that a person on the path of individuation reflects balance and authenticity, qualities that inevitably impact how they look and how they are perceived. In the process of individuation, we confront our shadows, the parts of ourselves we have repressed or ignored. This confrontation may be uncomfortable, but it is essential for releasing the energy trapped in internal conflicts. When this energy is unlocked, we not only feel emotional relief but also experience physical changes. The skin may look brighter, posture more relaxed, and eyes more vibrant. It's not magic. It's the result of a body and mind no longer fighting each other. A crucial aspect of individuation is self-knowledge. By deepening our understanding of who we truly are, we stop trying to fit into external molds imposed by society or our own insecurities. This authenticity translates into an appearance that is not only unique but also magnetic. People who have reached this level of integration project a confidence that does not rely on external validation, and that confidence is incredibly attractive. Stress is one of the greatest enemies of a youthful appearance. When we are trapped in internal conflicts, chronic stress can accelerate cellular aging and manifest in wrinkles, hair loss, or dull skin. Individuation, by reducing these tensions, acts as a natural antidote to these effects. Instead of spending energy fighting against ourselves, we can channel it toward well-being and activity. Additionally, individuation helps us find purpose. Jung observed that people with a clear sense of purpose in life often look more vital regardless of their age. This sense of purpose not only brings mental clarity, but also a renewed energy that is reflected in the face and body. How to start this process? Individuation doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey of self-discovery that can last a lifetime. Tools such as dream analysis, meditation, and working with archetypes can be helpful for exploring the depths of our psyche. The key is to approach this journey with patience and curiosity, knowing that each step toward internal integration is also a step toward a more radiant external appearance. In summary, individuation is much more than a psychological concept. It's a path toward wholeness that affects all aspects of our life, including our appearance. When we work to integrate all parts of our being, we not only feel better but also project a youthfulness and vitality that cannot be imitated by products or external treatments. Carl Jung considered dreams as a direct portal to the unconscious, a space where the hidden messages of the psyche are symbolically manifested. In his approach, dreams are not mere random fragments of information, but essential guides that reveal internal conflicts, repressed desires, and opportunities for personal growth. But how can these dreams influence our physical appearance and keep us youthful? The answer lies in their ability to process and release emotional tensions that would otherwise be reflected in the body. When we ignore the messages of our dreams, we risk accumulating psychic tensions. These tensions do not disappear. They lodge in the body in the form of chronic stress, which affects skin quality, causes muscle stiffness, and contributes to premature aging. For example, a person who constantly dreams of turbulent water might be experiencing repressed emotions such as anxiety or fear. If these emotions are not recognized or processed, they become a physical burden that eventually manifests externally. On the other hand, consciously working with dreams can be deeply rejuvenating. Jung described how dream interpretation, especially when done with the guidance of a therapist or through introspective analysis, can unlock internal conflicts and restore psychic energy. By resolving an emotional dilemma that was consuming mental resources, the body is freed from that burden, promoting a state of balance that is reflected in the face and posture. But the power of dreams is not limited to resolving tensions. They can also inspire creativity and awaken dormant energies. Jung observed that dreams frequently contain symbols of renewal, such as the image of a blooming tree or a sunrise. These archetypal images not only offer hope, but also activate internal processes that can revitalize our vital energy. You may find that after waking from a particularly meaningful dream, you feel lighter, more inspired, and curiously more vibrant. A practical way to use dreams for well-being and appearance is by keeping a dream journal. By regularly writing down your dreams, you can identify patterns and recurring themes that might indicate areas of your life needing attention. For example, dreams about losing teeth, common among many people, often relate to feelings of insecurity or fear of change. Working on these issues can have a positive effect on both your internal state and external appearance. Furthermore, Jung emphasized the importance of connecting dreams with conscious life. If a dream suggests a change, such as letting go of a harmful habit or confronting a toxic relationship, acting accordingly can unlock a new level of well-being. When our actions are aligned with our unconscious psyche, energy flows freely, promoting not only mental peace, but also a rejuvenated appearance. Lastly, dreams can offer a symbolic reminder of the importance of self-care. A recurring dream about being trapped might indicate that you need to free up time for activities that nurture your body and mind, such as exercise, meditation, or even something as simple as a walk outdoors. These actions, though small, have an accumulative impact on how you feel and how you look. In summary, dreams are more than just nightly narratives. They are guardians of our vital energy and youth, offering valuable clues to balance our lives and reflect that harmony in our external appearance. Working with them is a profoundly transformative practice that not only enhances our inner connection, but also how we project ourselves to the world. Jung regarded spirituality and religion as essential aspects of human well-being, but his perspective went beyond doctrines. He viewed faith as a personal connection with the transcendent, a force capable of transforming both the emotional and physical life of individuals. According to him, this connection not only provides purpose and meaning, but also has visible effects on appearance, rejuvenating those who manage to integrate it into their lives. In the Jungian framework, spirituality is not simply the practice of rituals or adherence to beliefs, but a living experience that connects the individual to something greater than themselves. This connection can free individuals from existential anxieties and provide them with a sense of calm and fulfillment. This state of inner peace is reflected physically through a relaxed expression, an open posture, and a serene gaze, clear signs of someone who has found balance through their faith. An intriguing aspect that Jung explored was how archetypal images associated with religion, such as the circle in Mandalas or light in visions, have a profound psychological impact. These images, present in all cultures, activate aspects of the collective unconscious that promote healing and well-being. For instance, the symbol of light is often associated with hope and renewal. By meditating on such images, people can experience an internal transformation that not only affects their mood but also their physical vitality. Additionally, Jung observed that spiritual practices such as prayer, meditation, or contemplation have a direct physiological impact. They reduce stress, regulate breathing, and improve cardiovascular function. These benefits are not only internal, but are also reflected in the face and body. Clearer skin, a relaxed posture, and an overall glow are common in people who incorporate spiritual practices into their daily lives. For Jung, religion was not an external obligation but a path to self-realization. This is why he emphasized the importance of each person finding a spiritual practice that authentically resonated with their being. This could be as simple as connecting with nature, practicing gratitude, or reflecting on the purpose of life. What matters is that these practices nourish the spirit, promoting an inner peace that radiates outward. In terms of appearance, faith acts as a catalyst to release stress and balance psychic energy. When a person is connected with their spirituality, they project a confidence and tranquility that are irresistible. This vitality does not depend on beauty products or external interventions, but on a deep connection with the soul. Finally, Jung also highlighted the transformative power of spiritual crises. While they can be challenging, these crises often lead to a rebirth, a state of clarity and purpose that rejuvenates both the mind and the body. Faith, in this context, is not an instant solution, but a continuous journey toward balance and fulfillment. Essentially, spirituality is not just a source of emotional comfort, but also a driver of physical transformation. When we cultivate our faith, we find an inner power that not only improves how we feel, but also how we look. True beauty, according to Jung, is the reflection of a soul at peace with itself. Carl Jung identified the collective unconscious as a shared dimension of the human psyche that contains archetypes and universal images present in all cultures and eras. This collective unconscious profoundly influences how we perceive the world and how we perceive ourselves, including our physical appearance. But how does this shared level of the psyche affect our personal image? The answer lies in how cultural standards, which originate in archetypes, shape our expectations of beauty and youth. Since antiquity, cultures have constructed ideals of beauty based on archetypal figures. For instance, in classical Greece, balance and proportion were associated with the archetype of divine perfection, while in the Middle Ages, modesty and purity symbolized by figures such as the Virgin Mary influenced beauty standards. These ideals are not arbitrary. They derive from archetypal images that resonate in the collective unconscious and become shared reference points for society. Today, the media amplify these cultural standards, creating a filter through which people assess their own appearance. This can be a source of pressure for those who feel they do not meet these expectations. However, Jung emphasized that archetypes are infinitely varied and can manifest uniquely in each individual. In other words, the collective unconscious offers a range of possibilities, not a single standard of beauty. The challenge lies in transcending cultural impositions and connecting with the archetypal images that authentically resonate with us. For example, while some people may identify with the archetype of the eternal youth, others may feel more aligned with the sage or the warrior. The key is to recognize which archetype influences our perception of beauty and decide whether we want to continue reinforcing it. The collective unconscious not only shapes our ideas about beauty, but also our relationship with aging. In many modern cultures, aging is viewed negatively as a loss of attractiveness. However, in other traditions, such as indigenous cultures, older people are seen as guardians of wisdom and symbols of balance. This contrast reflects the influence of different cultural archetypes. While in the West, the eternal youth archetype dominates, other cultures place more value on the sage. To consciously work with the collective unconscious and its impact on our appearance, Jung suggested practices such as dream analysis and the exploration of cultural symbols. These tools can help us identify the archetypal images that are influencing us and decide whether we want to continue feeding them. For example, a person who repeatedly dreams of mirrors may be dealing with issues related to self-image. By exploring this symbol, they might discover that their self-perception is conditioned by cultural expectations and choose to free themselves from them. The collective unconscious also offers an inexhaustible source of inspiration and strength. By connecting with archetypes that promote authenticity and balance, we can redefine our relationship with appearance. This does not mean rejecting cultural standards entirely, but finding a point of integration where we can express ourselves genuinely. Ultimately, the collective unconscious reminds us that beauty is neither static nor uniform. It is a dynamic reflection of our relationship with universal archetypes and our culture. When we free ourselves from imposed ideals and embrace our uniqueness, not only do we feel more comfortable in our own skin, but we also project an authenticity that resonates with those around us. For Jung, alchemy was more than an archaic attempt to turn metals into gold. It represented a symbolic process of internal transformation that could lead us to a state of wholeness. In his work, Psychology and Alchemy, Jung compared the alchemical stages to the psychological journey of individuation, but what is fascinating is how this process can also influence our physical appearance, reflecting the internal changes. The great work of alchemy involves several key stages, including nigredo, darkness, albedo, purification, and rubedo, illumination. These phases mirror psychological processes in our lives. Nigredo represents the crises we face when confronting our shadows and inner conflicts. Externally, This phase can manifest as a dull or weary appearance, reflecting the emotional burdens we carry. However, it is a crucial step in the journey toward transformation. Albedo, the purification phase, occurs when we begin to integrate our emotions and gain clarity amid the turmoil. During this stage, our psychic energy becomes more balanced, and our face may start to reflect a sense of calm and serenity. It's as though our inner light begins to shine through our skin and eyes. Rubedo marks the final stage of the process, complete integration, where mind, body, and spirit are in harmony. Individuals who reach this stage radiate vitality and magnetism, qualities that transcend mere physical appearance. A key component of the alchemical process is the use of symbols and rituals to stimulate transformation. Jung noted that alchemists employed images like fire, gold, and the eagle to symbolize spiritual change. These symbols act as potent archetypes that resonate within our psyche, facilitating inner shifts. In modern times, we can apply similar practices, such as visualizing symbolic images during meditation, to foster our own transformation. Alchemy also teaches that external change is a direct result of internal growth. Instead of focusing solely on improving our appearance with products or procedures, alchemy encourages us to nurture our psyche and spirit. When we achieve inner peace, it naturally reflects in our outward appearance, in ways no cosmetic treatment can replicate. Finally, alchemy reminds us that transformation is an ongoing process. There is no final destination, only a continuous journey of self-discovery and renewal. This mindset not only helps us embrace our appearance at every stage of life, but also empowers us to experiment and evolve freely. In conclusion, Jung's interpretation of alchemy offers a transformative model for how we relate to our appearance. By integrating mind, body, and spirit, we discover a beauty that doesn't rely on external standards, but instead arises from our authenticity and inner wholeness.